I'm afraid the next presentation is of a very serious nature. I'd like you to welcome Shyaporn. I'm not even going to attempt your last name, I hope you don't mind. I would like you to welcome our friend Shyaporn here from New York. Thank you.
The rains, they fall hard. Like Godzilla on Tokyo, rain or Godzilla. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and other distinguished members of the scientific community, and thank you for your time. It is hard to believe that it has already been 2 years since the devastating attacks in San Francisco, Las Vegas, Honolulu, and Japan. I remember where I was when I watched the 2-hour, 3-minute special news report, now available on Blu-ray and Redbox DVD. The devastation was truly shocking, as was the lack of character development and pacing. But that should only serve to highlight the importance of tonight's topic of discussion, and I hope the information I provide here can help in some small way. Since the 1950s, an ominous threat has loomed over the people of Earth, but I believe by developing a deeper understanding of the facts, we can help to diminish or perhaps avoid altogether the catastrophic impact of this deadly menace. And so to that end, this is Godzilla, History, Biology, and Behavior of Hyper-Evolved Theropod Kaiju. We have a lot of information to get through in a short amount of time. The first encounter with Godzilla occurred in 1954 on Oto Island, a southern Japanese fishing village. It was at this time that the first serious work on the creature was done by Professor Kyohei Yamane, who theorized that the creature was a dinosaur of the Cretaceous era, which had survived in undersea caves until disturbed and mutated by nuclear weapons tests in the nearby Bikini Islands. He named it Gojira after a local Oto Island folk legend of a sea monster, and that name was eventually anglicized to Godzilla because that's clearly what the Asian people were trying to say in the first place. The creature eventually reached Tokyo, as you can see here in these aerial photographs, drawn perhaps by the hordes of Japanese people screaming his name. Fortunately, Godzilla was eventually destroyed in Tokyo Bay with the prototype of an experimental weapon, the Oxygen Destroyer, invented by Daisuke Serizawa, who later destroyed the device, its designs, and himself in the process in order to prevent the weapon from ever being misused. In the years since this initial attack, there have been over 23 encounters with at least 6 different Godzilla creatures, as well as with numerous other Godzilla-class kaiju. Prior to the 2014 attacks, there had not been a Godzilla sighting since the attempted alien invasion in 2004, which I'm sure you all recall. Some basic characteristics of Godzilla. A fully grown Godzilla can range in height from 50 to 110 meters tall, with the species exhibiting a steady increase in height over the past 6 decades, with a few deviations in the 1990s. It is, of course, difficult to measure Godzilla's exact height, as it tends to slouch. We can approximate its weight using a simple water displacement and scaling calculation at anywhere from 20,000 to 160,000 tons. Godzilla can achieve a land speed of at least 122 miles per hour. Their nautical speed is thought to be equal to or even greater than this velocity, given the speed at which Godzilla is able to travel between various land masses. Now, while for many years and for obvious reasons, it has been extremely difficult to directly study the anatomy of Godzilla, we can morphologically infer certain details. Based on Professor Yamane's findings, we know that Godzilla is a dinosaur. We can extrapolate the skeletal structure of the creature by analyzing footage from the 1954 Ishiro Honda documentary. And from this, we can safely say that it is a carnivore, as it has large pointed teeth and forward-facing eyes, giving it the stereoscopic vision necessary to catch prey. More specifically, its bipedal nature, large, deep head, short neck, and body clearly illustrate that it is a form of theropod, a group which includes Tyrannosaurus and Allosaurus, and a primitive theropod at that, as it has unusually long arms for a large theropod and 4 fingers and toes. For reasons nobody yet understands, throughout their evolution, theropods experienced a reduction in their number of digits and arm length as well. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exactly which dinosaur Godzilla mutated from was the topic of some debate. There are some who believed it was the Abeliasaur carnotaurus, and others who speculated that it was Ceratosaurus, due to the row of armor plates along its back. However, in the end, Professor Yamane was correct when he postulated that Godzilla was derived from a transitional form, as was proven in 1991 upon the discovery of the preliminarily named Godzillasaurus, a specimen of which survived on Lagos Island and shortly thereafter mutated into a fully grown Godzilla itself. Now, the initial nuclear weapons tests which created Godzilla occurred between 1946 and 1958. So how did these surviving theropods change so rapidly and drastically? The answer lies in the phenomenon of hyperevolution. Hyperevolution is a process of rapid genetic mutation, where an individual's body is changed in a manner paralleling millions of years of natural evolution within a short span of time. Rapid physical changes can occur nearly instantaneously using a technique called molecular sliding, an ability also found in the sea cucumber. As a result, Godzilla can evolve not only from generation to generation, but here are several examples of hyperevolution in contemporary times. The last of which bears striking similarities to Godzilla. Aside from the, pardon me, I've mixed up my notes, unfortunately. Well, the important thing to realize here, aside from the skin coloration and the enhanced strength and incredibly strong hide, both of these creatures have an immense ability to generate, and the secret of this lies in Godzilla's cells in a material called regenerator G1. Now, I believe that regenerator G1 is a mutation of traits found in the Deinococcus radiodurans bacterium, which is the most radio-resistant organism known towards man. It can survive vacuum, cold, acid, fire, insults. Similar to the water bear or tardigrade, no relation. This brings us to, what does Godzilla eat? Sustaining 160,000 tons of mass is a difficult proposition, to say the least. Obviously, you cannot do this through conventional means. But as we saw that when Godzilla engaged the Kaiju destroyer, when Godzilla actually experienced full nuclear meltdown, Godzilla has evolved a special organ for this purpose known as the plasma gland. The plasma gland provides a nearly limitless source of energy, which allows Godzilla to be so large. The main factors considering its vertebrate size are available resources and how the creature expands its energy. This nearly limitless source of energy allows Godzilla several abilities. He has the ability to eject excess nuclear power through his mouth as a weapon or for short-range flight. As you can see here, he can emit a destructive nuclear pulse or use it for simple posturing behavior when encountering other kaiju. Yes, watch him glide. He is like a graceful swan. This brings us to the question of proliferation. How do Godzilla reproduce? Now, in the past, several scientists have mistakenly theorized that Godzilla reproduces via parthenogenesis, or virgin birth, a method of asexual reproduction found amongst some reptiles. The foremost proponent of this theory was a former colleague, Dr. Nick Tatopoulos. Unfortunately, it was later discovered that Dr. Tatopoulos was not studying an actual Godzilla, but rather mistakenly a giant mutated iguana. Now, the simple fact is that to the best of our knowledge, no scientist to date has witnessed a Godzilla mating, gestation, or birth. However, we do know some facts which point towards sexual reproduction. One, birds and reptiles, which are closely related to dinosaurs, reproduce sexually. 2 dinosaurs have been shown to possess medullary bones, a type of bone found in birds used to store extra calcium for egg production. And 3, like birds and reptiles, dinosaurs lay eggs and build nests as well. And since, of course, Godzilla has evolved from a dinosaur, we can safely infer that Godzilla reproduced sexually. Now, to date, Godzilla that we have observed have been exclusively male. Male reptiles typically have a hemipenal bulge at the base of the tail, as you can see here. This is actually quite fortunate, as it is probable that female Godzilla are substantially larger than the males of the species. This is known as sexual dimorphism, where species exhibit marked differences in size, shape, and behavior. Another reason we don't see female Godzilla is that they don't seem to stray too far from their own territory, as unlike male Godzilla, they are not easily distracted by exploding things, and they have learned through evolution to ask for directions when lost. So the question is, which bathroom does Godzilla use? Whichever one Godzilla fucking wants to use, it's Godzilla. Plus, Godzilla doesn't use a bathroom, it has 100% efficient metabolism. And also, I need this thing, whatever this is. But all of that brings us to the subject of Godzilla behavior. Since its first appearance, Godzilla, we have seen the evolution of not just its physical form, but its behavioral and social patterns as well. Whereas the first Godzilla was a force of pure destruction, later incarnations have learned to interact not only with other kaiju, but also with humans to a degree. This increased social behavior has worked to Earth's advantage on numerous occasions, particularly when being invaded by aliens, as occurred in 1964, 1965, 68, 71, 74, 75, 91, 94, 2000, and of course, 2004. This behavioral evolution, of course, begs the question, is Godzilla intelligent? Professor Schur addressed this subject earlier. There's certainly been long debate over how to define animal intelligence and cognition. Is intelligence defined by use of language and tools? Is it the ability to problem solve, adapt, and learn? Or is it simply a function of brain structure? I only recite this laundry list of definitions to make this point. It doesn't matter, because whatever your definition of intelligence, Godzilla fulfills it in spades. Godzilla has demonstrated advanced emotional cognition, mourning the loss of a child. He has laughed at fellow kaiju, and even expressed frustration over ridiculous situations, as illustrated by the infamous Godzilla facepalm. So over a period of just 60 years, Godzilla has evolved from a creature possessed of a basic animal cunning into one now capable of abstract thought, strategic thinking, emotional knowledge, memory, learning, and self-awareness. So faced with a nigh indestructible, extraordinarily powerful threat possessed of an ever-evolving intelligence, what are we to do? Well, despite the serendipitous occasions where Godzilla has helped mankind, you should under no circumstances expect this to be the norm. The fact that Chicago borders a lake and not an ocean does not promise you any protection. Godzilla can swim in fresh water fine, and Godzilla can walk very fast. So, to help you prepare, in conjunction with the United Nations Godzilla Countermeasures Center, or UNCG, I have compiled the following list of do's and don'ts to help you avoid, and if necessary, survive an encounter with Godzilla. Number 1, don't live in Japan. This is the first and best step you can take towards Godzilla prevention. Japan is the primary stomping grounds for Godzilla and other kaiju, most probably due to its proximity to Monster Island. Also, the Japanese government invariably attacks Godzilla, which never fails to just make him angrier. On a related note, speaking of Monster Island, we should encourage all governments in the future to stop blowing things up next to Monster Island. Just a public service announcement. Number 2, do ask Mothra for help. While most kaiju are indifferent towards human beings, the inhabitants of Infant Island, the Shobinjin, have over many generations established a rapport with Mothra. Mothra is the only kaiju who has consistently been able to subdue Godzilla. 3, don't shoot at Godzilla. You will fail and again, simply make him angry. Now, there are those who will argue that we simply need to use a bigger gun, but other than the oxygen destroyer, which is now lost to us, no weapon or battleship has had any measurable or lasting success against Godzilla. Still, there are others who will point to the success in 2013 using mecha and combating extra-dimensional kaiju along the Pacific Rim. Well, I would remind those people that in 2004, Godzilla defeated over a dozen kaiju in rapid succession. And let me assure you that the minor, genetically engineered kaiju emerging in the Pacific Theater do not even remotely compare to the destructive might of a single Godzilla-class creature, and that a giant fighting robot will be nothing more than an expensive chew toy for Godzilla. Now, that said, giant fighting robots are awesome. But let us move on. Number 4, do keep it cool with a weather control machine or freeze ray. Godzilla has proved susceptible to extreme cold, and while, like other weapons, it will not kill him, it can place him in a state of extended hibernation. This is a temporary fix, however, as he will inevitably be woken back up by a random nuclear explosion or aliens. Which brings us to number 5. Don't trade Godzilla to aliens. They may offer the universal cure to all diseases, but they will always end up trying to use Godzilla to destroy us. Aliens cannot be trusted ever. And I mean space aliens, you racists. Number 6, do run in a calm and orderly manner. Don't scream while doing it. Godzilla can hear you. We must always be vigilant. Even now, experts at UNC are predicting a possible Godzilla resurgence in Japan as soon as next week, July 29th, roughly, maybe August or September in the US. We must always be prepared. So in conclusion, just remember that while you may be afraid of Godzilla, Godzilla is not even remotely afraid of you. So while you may feel the instinct to stop and stare at Godzilla or any other charismatic mega kaiju you may encounter, don't. Just get out. Now, I realize that is a lot of information to absorb, so I have put together a little song to help you remember. Up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky, Godzilla, Godzilla, Godzilla. People, they be illin' when they're messing with Godzilla. He's a big, mean, green, radioactive monster killer. The bigger he is, the harder you fall. So many people in his posse, I can hardly count them all. He's got a scientist, a soldier, tinker, terror, spy. He's got 2 fairy shorties, just 6 inches high, singing... Mothra's a butterfly, fly, fly away. Rodan's a little birdie, he ain't got no nuclear ray. No mechanized terror or worm from outer space is gonna knock my boy Godzilla from his king of monsters place. He's got nuclear breath, radioactive death. He'll knock you out faster than crack cocaine or meth because he's up from the depths. 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. From the Cretaceous era he arrived. In some deep sea caves my boy survived. Woken up by the hydrogen bomb, he's like both world wars plus Vietnam. He'll level your cities, he'll demolish your towns. Any monster tries to mash him, he will surely take him down. Tsunami, earthquake, hurricane, typhoon, he's a force of nature. He's completely immune to your guns, tanks, and bombs, and your model jet fighters, to your hack directors and your bad screenwriters. Godzilla's mad sick, he ain't no pregnant chick. What the hell's the matter with you, Matthew Broderick? Some of you are too young to remember that movie. Imagine Batman versus Superman. It was like about that bad. Even when he's beaten, you know he's coming back. No oxygen destroyer is going to change the fact. From Megalon to Gamera, Kumanga and Hedorah, to Ghidorah and Gigan, the king said sayonara. Don't matter what you say, this player's gotta play. But wait for 90 minutes and my boy will swim away. Where he came from. Where there is no sun. Ninjas better run. Gotta get me some Godzilla. 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 King Kong. King Kong is only 50 feet tall, son. No way. Thank you.